Hello students, welcome to KENE'S Educare, a group of KENE solutions. This is part 8 of lesson tissues, right? So this is the last part for the lesson because we are just left with one tissue, that is the nervous tissue, to discuss in detail. And after that, after discussing okay, after discussing that, we will be having summary discussion, and there are 15 exercise questions that we are going to discuss at the end of the lesson. And I hope, as I told every one of you, to please revise whatever we have studied so far in the last class itself. And I hope every one of you are now very much comfortable telling me about the plant tissue, about the animal tissue, till wherever we have discussed, right? Because that is very easy part. This is one of the easiest lesson you have. Okay, you know, we all know the story of our friends, like what's happening in their life, how are they dealing with it, then where they go to school, where do they go to, you can say class. We have every information about them, right? Same way, you have to think that plant tissue is your friend. Okay, now your friend plant tissue has two more friends under them. Now what are the name of the friends? They are meristematic tissue and the other one is permanent tissue. It means one is the best friend and the other one is a normal friend. Okay, so the normal friend is like meristematic tissue, which is the normal friend. It keeps on dividing because that friend keeps on making new friends again and again. So that is why that is not a permanent tissue. Okay, so this is how you have to relate it somewhere, and that is how you will be understanding what exactly it is, and you will it will be in your mind forever, and that is what I want from each one of you. Okay, we are discussing on one lesson for we have completed part 8 till here, right? And we are discussing it for such a long time. So this is what I'm expecting from each one of you right now. Okay, so I just want you all to please go through whatever notes you have taken in your book with respect to this lesson tissues till now, starting from part 1 till part 7. Whatever information you have with yourself, please write that, everyone. I hope every one of you have started revising it. Okay, whatever you have written in your book, you have to go through each and every point. I hope every one of you are going through it. Now I'm going to show you the slides one by one, and whatever concepts you have just revised, you need to make sure that you know them thoroughly. Now, what kind of revision you're going to do, you just have to see the subtopic and you have to explain it to yourself, like what exactly you are studying over here. Okay? So we have started this lesson by discussing in short about tissue. Now suppose if I tell you to write on tissues for 2 marks, what are the points that you will write? If I ask you to draw a diagram of it, what are the diagrams that you will draw? You should be knowing each and everything in detail. Okay? I hope everyone is like able to write about tissues for 2 marks. Now you don't have to write it, you have to just tell it on your own. You should at least have 3-4 points on tissues along with the diagram should be there in your mind as well. Okay? After this, we discussed on like are plants and animals made up of same type of tissue or not, right? So here you can see the differences which have been given between plant tissue and animal tissue. So now you need to make sure that you're like letting yourself know about like what are plant tissue and what are animal tissue. Okay? I hope you all are able to like write about this. You can even draw the diagram, okay? Because that is going to make it more easier for you to grab more points or to grab extra marks and make your paper look more representative, like, as well. Okay. Here we have some of the more important points which have been given, and I hope, like, just going through, like having a glance through it, you will be able to explain it more thoroughly, right? So here we have information on meristematic tissues and all, and I hope you all are going through it. After this, we discussed on meristematic tissue in detail, and we know based on the location of it, there are three different types of meristem which are present, right? So we have apical meristem, we have intercalary meristem, and we have lateral meristem. Then we discussed on this activity for understanding the meristematic tissue properly. So before we start with it, okay, I want you all to quickly like explain this activity, like letting the observation and conclusions here as well. Okay. After this, we discussed on permanent tissue in detail. So I want each one of you to please go through this, and even there's a diagram which has been given, right? So I want you all to please go through it quickly. After this, we discussed on this activity 6.2, where we have the section of the stem along with the proper labeling which has been given. So I want you all to please quickly go through this. After this, we discussed on simple permanent tissue. So here we have collenchyma, chlorenchyma, parenchyma, sclerenchyma, erenchyma that we have discussed, right? So here we have like information and the function of each and every, you can say, parts which are associated with simple permanent tissue. Okay. Then after that we discussed on this activity 6.3. So I just hope you all know the observation and you can say the conclusion for this activity as well. Okay. Then here we have like the observation in short, you can say, which includes the guard cell, the epidermis, and the stoma, right? So I want you all to please go through it quickly. I hope everyone is going through it and even the diagram that is given. Then we discussed on the epidermal cells in detail. So I want you all to please go through this slide as well quickly. After this we discussed on like complex permanent tissue. So over here, when it comes to complex permanent tissue, we have xylem and phloem like to discuss, right? So I hope you all are going through this slide, and even there are certain like you can see there are two structures figures which have been given, right? So I want you all to please go through that as well. So here we have the proper information on xylem and phloem which has been given. So I want you all to please go through it quickly, because you should be knowing the functions right now, right? So I hope you all are doing the same. I hope everyone is going through the functions on screen. After this, we discussed on animal tissues in detail. So I want you all to please go through this slide quickly, because here we have like the information on all the types of animal tissue that we have. We know we have four different types of animal tissue, that is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and lastly we have nervous tissue, right? So I want you all to quickly go through it. After this, we discussed on epithelial tissue in detail. So I want each one of you to please tell about epithelial tissue to yourself and check whether you have understood it or not. Because epithelial tissue, if it has been asked, they will ask you as a brief, because there are 5 different types of epithelial tissue that you're going to write. You'll be explaining the functions of them, and initially you'll be explaining about what exactly epithelial tissue is, right? Then here we have the 5 different types of epithelium which have been given. So I just want each one of you to please go through it quickly. Then we discussed on connective tissue in detail, right? So I hope everyone is going through it. So here we studied about the tendons, ligaments, cartilages and all. So I hope you all are going through it. See, there are diagrams also which they have given, but they have not highlighted the diagrams properly. So it can be just for your reference. Okay, but when it comes to blood cells, if you can see, there's a diagram on blood cell where they are showing different white blood corpuscles. Now we have discussed on, like when it comes to connective tissue, we discussed about blood and the bone, right? So blood, the components of blood are red blood cell, white blood cells and platelets, right? So white blood corpuscles, it includes neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, lymphocytes, monocytes. These are the different, you can say, components of different types of white blood corpuscles. Then we had red blood corpuscles which have been given, right? So we have everything, every information that we have. It's just that we need to find it better. Okay, so I just want you all to please go through it, go through the slide quickly. And here we have two types of tissues, additional tissues which have been given. That includes areolar connective tissue and the other one is fat storing tissues. So you should be able to explain that as well to me. Okay. Then we discussed on this activity 6.4. So I want you all to please go through it quickly. Then we discussed on muscular tissue in short, so I want each one of you to please go through it quickly. So I hope you all are going through the cardiac muscle part as well, because after this we have nervous tissue summary and then the lesson, and then we are done with the lesson. We are done with the whole lesson then. So we even discussed on this activity 6.5, right? So I just want you all to please go through it quickly. Then now we have nervous tissue to discuss in detail. So see, all cells possess the ability to respond to stimuli, right? If someone touches you, you come to know that you have been touched by someone, right? Why is it so? Because all the cells that we have, they have the ability that they can respond, right? Because of the stimuli that we have. However, cells of nervous tissue, they are highly specialized for being stimulated and then transmitting the stimulus very rapidly from one place to another within the body. What happens over here? Whatever cells of nervous tissue that we have, they are highly specialized. All the cells are specialized, but when it comes to nervous tissue, the cells of this nervous tissue are specialized, where they are going to stimulate and transmit the stimuli very rapidly from one place to another. Okay, so whenever it's going to come with respect to nervous tissue, you should know that it includes the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. So our nervous tissue is wholly composed of the brain, spinal cord, and the nerves, and the cells of these tissues, we call them as nerve cells or neurons. What are the cells of the nervous tissue called as? They are called as nerve cells or neurons. Okay, so a neuron consists of cell body with a nucleus and a cytoplasm. What does it has? It has a nucleus and cytoplasm from which long thin hair-like parts arise. What happens? Can you see the diagram? Now you have to just look at the dendrite part. Those are the long thin hair-like part which, like, you can say, elaborate from there. So the cells of the tissues, we call them as nerve cells or neurons, and neuron consists of a cell body which is going to have a nucleus in the center. Then around the nucleus we have cytoplasm, and from there, from the cytoplasm, we can see the dendrites all over, like they are being, you can say, spread, like they are spreaded all together, right? So they have this long thin hair like part which arise from them, and usually each neuron has a single long part or a process which is called as an axon. Can you see the small blue part which have been connected? I'll show you this parts. They are known as axon, a long thread which is arising from the nucleus and the cytoplasm part, and it's going to end near the nerve ending, right? And many short branched parts process called as dendrites. So neuron has this, like each and every neuron is going to have this axon on the upper part, sorry, over here, and dendrites on the upper part. Okay, so this is very important. And our nervous system tissue comprises of brain, spinal cord, and the nerve cells. Okay, and the nerves, you can say in short. I hope every one of you have drawn the diagram of the neuron, which is the unit of the nervous tissue, right? And you have to draw the dendrite, axon, nerve ending, cell body, everything. So, an individual nerve cell may be up to a meter long, and many nerve fibers, they are bound together by connective tissue, and that is how we, like that is what makes a nerve. So the signal that passes along the nerve fiber, we call it as nerve impulse. What do we call it as? That is being called as nerve impulse, and nerve impulse allow us to move our muscles when we want to. It is only possible because of the nerve impulse that we have. So the functional combination of the nerve and the muscle tissue is fundamental to most animals. What happens over here, that whatever combination of nerve and muscle tissue that we have, that is like a fundamental thing to most of the animals. It's always going to be there. So this combination enables the animal to move rapidly in response to stimuli. What happens? The functional combination of the nerve and the muscle tissue, it enables all the animals around us to move rapidly in response to stimuli. Okay, so now we have the next thing to discuss, like what exactly we have studied in the lesson. So see, tissue is a group of cells which are similar in structure and function, right? So group of cells who are similar in structure and function, when they come together, that is how a tissue has been formed, right? So plant tissue, they are of two type. We have meristematic tissue, and the other thing that we have is, okay, so meristematic tissue, you know, it's the dividing tissue that is present like in all the region of the plant, the growing region of the plant. And permanent tissues, they are derived from meristematic tissue itself, right? Because once meristematic tissue lose their ability to divide, they get converted to permanent tissue. So we can classify them as simple tissue, and then we have like like simple permanent tissue, and we have complex permanent tissue. Okay, then we have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, which are the types of simple permanent tissue, and xylem and phloem are the type of complex permanent tissue. Okay, then we have animal tissues, which can be further classified as epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. So these are the four different types of animal tissues that we have discussed. And depending on the shape and function, we can classify the epithelial tissue as squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated epithelium, and glandular epithelium, right? So the different types of connective tissue in our body, it includes our areolar tissue, adipose tissue, bone, tendon, ligament, cartilage, and blood. I hope that while you are going through this summary slide, you are able to know which are the different parts that we have studied in the whole lesson, right? Then we have three types of muscle tissues, which includes striated muscles, which are called as voluntary muscles. Then we have unstriated muscles, and lastly we have cardiac muscle. So these are the three types of muscle tissues that we have. And the last tissue that we discussed just now is about the nervous tissue, which is made up of neurons, and these neurons are going to receive and conduct impulses. What are these neurons going to do? These neurons are going to receive and conduct impulses. Okay, So I hope every one of you are clear with this summary slide, because after this summary we have exercise questions to discuss and there are 15 questions each. So I'll just share I'll share all the questions with you all, and I want each one of you to please quickly go through the summary and then we'll start with the exercise question. Okay? So I hope every one of you have gone through this. Now we have the first question as define the term tissue. So how will you define it? So tissue is a cluster of cells which are similar in structure and work together to perform a particular function. What can you write? Tissue is defined as cluster of cells which are similar in structure and they work together to perform a particular function. Now writing a cluster of cells having similar structure working together for performing a particular function, it's very easy, right? So I hope you all can frame your own definition of tissue, but make sure the meaning is not changing. Okay? Then we have the second question as how many types of elements together make up the xylem tissue, and we need to name it. So now what can you write? Now we know that the xylem tissue is made up of four main elements. How many elements the xylem tissue is made up of? Four main elements, and it includes vessels, tracheids, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. Which are the four different types of xylem tissues that we have? We have xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, xylem fibers, and we have xylem parenchyma. These are the four different elements which makes up the xylem tissue. Okay. Then we have third question as how are simple tissue different from complex tissue in plants? You can make two tables and you can just write what is simple tissue now. Now simple tissues, they are made up of a single type of cell that performs only one common function. What will you write? That simple tissues are made up of one single type of cell that perform only one common function, whereas complex tissues, they are made up of more than one kind of cell that coordinate to perform one particular function. So simple tissue is made up of only one type of cell and that is going to perform only one common function, whereas complex tissue, they are made up of more kind of cells and this more kind of cells are going to coordinate with each other, and through this coordination they will be able to perform a particular function. Okay, so I hope you know the difference between simple tissue and complex tissue now. Then fourth question that we have is differentiate between parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma on the basis of their cell wall. So when it comes to parenchyma, the cell walls of parenchyma are thin and made up of cellulose. How is the cell wall of parenchyma? They are thin and they are made up of cellulose. Then collenchyma, the cell walls are thick at the edges due to the deposition of pectin. Now when you look at the structure of the collenchyma properly, you will see that cell wall of collenchyma are going to be thick at the edges because of the deposition of pectin, and there's one more thing named as hemicellulose which will be present over there. Okay, and lastly we have sclerenchyma. So sclerenchyma, the cell wall of the sclerenchyma are going to thick again like collenchyma, and that is because of the deposition of lignin. So collenchymas, they are thick at the edge because of deposition of pectin. Sclerenchyma are thick because of the deposition of the lignin. Okay, this is the difference that you should be knowing between parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma on the basis of their cell wall. Sorry. Then we have next question as, what are the functions of the stomata? Okay, so what do you think? What are the functions of stomata now? So stomata are tiny pores which are present on the outer layer of the cells. Where are the stomata present? They are like this. Stomatas are going to be tiny pores which will be present on the outer layer of the cells, and we know this outer layer as epidermis. What do we know it as? Epidermis. So the function of stomata is to bring about the exchange of gases and even help in transpiration process. What are they going to do? They're going to exchange the gas and help us in help the plant in transpiration. What is transpiration? Loss of water from the tip of the plant is called as transpiration, right? So stomata is going to help the plant for that, even for gas exchange. Then diagrammatically show the difference between the three types of muscle fibers. So we have striated muscle fiber, we have unstriated muscle fiber, and lastly we have is cardiac muscle, right? So you can write that striated muscles, they are connected with the bone, they are voluntary in nature, they are going to have many nuclei present in them, and they are unbranched. So you can write like the difference as, for striated muscles, write all the points. They are connected to the bones, voluntary in nature, they have many nuclei present in them, and they are unbranched. So these are the points that you will write for striated muscles. Then for unstriated muscles, you can write that they have only one nuclei. They are found in the lungs and the alimentary canal. Where is the smooth muscles or unstriated muscles found? They are found in the lungs and the alimentary canal. They are involuntary in nature. They have only one nuclei present in them, and they are spindle shaped. What is the shape of unstriated muscles? They are going to be spindle shaped. Okay. And lastly we have the third type of you can say muscle fiber, that is the cardiac muscle. Now we know that cardiac muscle is present in the heart, which is again involuntary in nature. Involuntary in nature, it means it functions on its own. We cannot control, right? We cannot control the function of cardiac muscle. Then cardiac muscle also have one nucleus, and they are branched again, like see, cardiac muscles are branched, striated muscles are unbranched, and like when it comes to unstriated muscles, they are spindle shaped. Okay. Then we have, what is the specific function of the cardiac muscle? So just now we studied that cardiac muscles are branched and cylindrical, right? And they have only one nucleus with them. They are involuntary in nature. So you can write all this point, and you can even write that cardiac muscle bring about a rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout one's lifetime. Okay, what does it brings about? It brings about rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout one's life. So this is what you will be writing for the function of the cardiac muscle. Okay. Then we have next question as, differentiate between striated, unstriated and cardiac muscle. Now we did the same thing, but that was with respect to cell wall. Now we are going to differentiate with respect to the site and the location in the body. So we know that striated muscles are found in our hands, legs and skeletal muscles. Unstriated muscles are present in the walls of the stomach, intestine, ureter and bronchi, right? And cardiac muscles are found in the heart. So it is the location of the body. Then when it comes to structure, striated muscles are long, cylindrical, non-tapering, and they are unbranched. How are striated muscles? Long, cylindrical, tapering, unbranched. Okay, these are the 4 points there that you will write. Then when it comes to unstriated muscles are again long and tapering, and they are again unbranched. Okay. And when it comes to cardiac muscles, they are cylindrical and non-tapering like striated muscles. How are cardiac muscle? They are cylindrical and non-tapering, and they are branched. So I hope now you know the site, that is the location of these muscles in your body, and you know the structure, how exactly they are. Okay. Now the next question that we have is draw a well-labeled diagram of the neuron. So this is what you will be drawing over here. This structure. Neuron, a unit of nervous tissue. Okay, and you have to draw it with proper labeling. So you can draw it. Then we have 10th question as name the following tissue that forms the inner lining of our mouth. So it's the epithelial tissue and the specific one is squamous epithelium. Okay. Then tissue that connect the muscles to the bone in humans. So it's the tendon that connects muscles to the bone. Okay. Then tissue that transports food and plant, it is phloem. Tissues that store fat in our body, it's adipose tissue. Then connective tissue with the fluid matrix is blood, because we studied that blood is a fluid connective tissue, right? Then the tissue present in the brain is the nervous tissue. I hope every one of you are clear with this specific type of tissues. Then we have the next question as identify the types of tissue in the following. Skin has stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Okay. Bark of tree has protective tissue. Bone has connective tissue. Lining of kidney tubule has cuboidal epithelial tissue. And vascular bundles have conducting tissues, which includes xylem and phloem, and along with that it has complex permanent tissue in them. Okay. Then name the region in which parenchyma tissue is present. So we know that parenchyma tissue is present like in the pith of stems and roots, and they are even found in aquatic plants where they have large cavities present in them, and because of the presence of large cavity in them, we know it as parenchyma. And some of the parenchyma, they have chlorophyll present in them. So in that case, those parenchyma, they are called as chlorenchyma, and we can find them mostly in the green leaves. Okay. Then what is the role of epidermis in plant? So we know that epidermis is going to form an uninterrupted and continuous layer, and that has no intercellular space in it. So it is going to provide protection to the plant by having that uninterrupted and continuous layer. Okay. Then 14th one is how does the cork act as a protective tissue? Now we know that the cork cells are dead cells, and the arrangement of this cork cell is so dense that there is no intercellular space. So deposition of suberin is observed on the walls of the cell, which helps the cell to make them impervious to water and gases. Okay, so we have already studied about this, and the last question for this lesson is complete the following chart. So we know permanent tissues are of two types, simple permanent tissue, and lastly we have complex permanent tissue. Now simple permanent tissues are of three types. We have parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, and complex permanent tissue includes xylem and phloem. Okay, so here we complete with the whole lesson, that is tissue, and I hope every one of you have understood whatever we were studying in this lesson, right? So now I want each one of you to please know like what exactly we were studying so far, and you should be even aware of like each and every type of tissue and each and everything that we have studied so far. Okay, so now I'll end up with this lesson tissues, and I hope every one of you are aware of what exactly we have studied in the lesson, and you know like the importance of lesson as well, you know the importance of tissues in your body and everything in detail. Okay, so now I want each one of you, whatever you have understood in the like exercise, you have to write the answers on your own. I have like orally told you all the answers and explained you as well. I want each one of you to write it in your own words in your notebook and do revise each and everything and study well. Okay, this is the one of the easiest lessons. So I'll end up with this lesson now, and I'll start with the next lesson in the next part. Thank you everyone.